To the story now, it remains unclear when construction of the multi-million rand Rivoni School for the blind in Elim outside Louis Trichardt in Limpopo will be completed. Now that's amid allegations that the project's main contractor owes subcontractors millions of rands despite being paid over 160 million rand by the project's implementing agent IDT. Learners currently learn and sleep in mobile structures at the school. Construction was initially scheduled to be completed in June last year, with learners expected to move into the new infrastructure at the start of the 2025 academic year. SABC News senior reporter Pimani Baloyi visited the school and spoke to the Limpopo Department of Education spokesperson for the latest.
Delays in the completion of the multi-million rand Rivoni School for the blind in Elim has left the community there in limbo. Commissioned in June 2021, the project was set to be completed in June last year and officially handed over to the community by December, with learners expected to start learning in the new infrastructure this year. But when we went to the construction site, we found an abandoned site with the main contractor and the subcontractor having abandoned site, also with allegations that some of the subcontractors have not received their payments in about 11 or 9 months. But to speak more about this, let me speak to the Department of Education in Limpopo, who is responsible for that construction, but they got an implementing agent. Mr. Maringa, thank you so much for your time. Rivoni, you and I are very familiar with the Rivoni School for the blind. When you worked for the SABC, you've covered that story extensively. We know the state of dilapidation that the school was in, which is why the department decided to build new infrastructure. It was meant to be used this year, this new infrastructure, but learners are still in mobile units. What is the reason for the delays in your understanding as the department?
Good afternoon and good afternoon to the viewers. Let me indicate that the delay that you are seeing in Rivoni is because of two things. One, it's the contractor who is struggling to finalize the project. We have established that he is unable to meet the deadlines that we have set as the department. The contract was supposed to have been completed by February this year, but because of the variation order, we had moved the deadline to June again 2025, of which he's unable to honor because of his financial status. The second one, it's with regard to the variation order that I'm talking about. A client, who is the Department of Education, realized at a later stage that phase 1 of the construction does not have an eye clinic, and we could not open the school without an eye clinic. So we requested the implementing agent to add that into the scope of the work, and that was done. So the variation order took a bit of time because it's a process that involves us and the IDT. It was the eye clinic and the retaining wall and outside works. So that was done. So we were hoping that by June, because we had given them 4 months to complete. So it's not completed. We have now started with the process of informing the contractor and also adding penalties on the work that is currently happening.
Let's talk about your implementing agent. I know the IDT is your implementing agent, and they have been making headlines with allegations of kickbacks and other things, corruption. Could there have been something like this? Is the department worried that there could have been corruption in the relationship between the Independent Development Trust and its main contractor, whom you say currently is unable to complete the work?
As far as we know, everything that was done at the time of his appointment was above board. The Department of Education was very much involved as and when they finish their processes, because they do the procurement of contractors on their side. They've got their own supply chain processes. Ours is to give them a concurrence to allow them to appoint. So we believe that they have followed due processes. They are also audited. Differently. So we believe that whatever that they have done was above board. If there's anything, the auditors will pick it up and they will bring it to our attention. But we know it to be a clean project that we are eagerly waiting for, so that we can hand it over to the community.
The allegations of non-payment of subcontractors by the main contractor, is the department aware of this? This is what we understand is the reason why the subcontractors abandoned site. That allegation that they've not been paid, has it come to the department? Is there anything that the department can do?
Remember, we are the client. We have given this project to the implementing agent, which is the IDT. The appointment of subcontractors, it's an agreement between the main contractor and subcontractors. From our end, what we do, we pay IDT to pay the contractor. When we check our records, the contractor was paid in full for the work done. What was remaining was the 7% of the initial contract, and also the variation order payment that will come as and when the work is done, which at this stage we know for a fact that it's moving slow, and we are issuing notice to indicate that we have passed the deadline. We're adding penalties, and if we detect that he will not be able to continue, we'll be left with no choice but to revoke that contract and get somebody else to come and finalize the contract.
Talking about revoking the contract and getting someone else, community members, learners are still learning in these mobile units, and they're still sleeping in them. They want to know when can this be finalized, because this is about education, ensuring that these blind learners at Rivoni are able to get a good education like any other child. Is there timelines that you are putting if you're getting a new contractor, or if we're getting him to finalize this?
The procurement of a service provider contractor, it's somehow not very easy, because there are due processes, there are time frames, there are timelines that you must also adhere to. But what we are deciding as the department is that we would have to call the contractor, the current contractor, so that we can do what we call a partial handover, so that we can move the learners from the prefabs into the classrooms and also into the hostels, because phase one of this project included hostels and classrooms. That is complete. We were waiting for the remaining work to be done so that he hands over an entire complete project. But we are allowed by law to do a partial handover so that we remove learners from the prefabs and give them.
Is there a timeline for that yet?
At this stage, we will not be talking of the timeline, because IDT must now start with the process of procuring a service provider. Once that is done, and we are happy, because we are not going to rush it for the sake of wanting a contractor. We must ensure that it's a clean job. They've procured a contractor who is deserving to be the one finishing the project. So once we are happy with that, we will sign the concurrence and allow the contractor. But the work that is remaining according to the contract, it's only 4 months. So I'm saying if we were to procure a contractor successfully by the end of August, we should be able to finalize this project by December.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maringa. That's Mr. Mike Maringa saying 4 months' work of work remains until they can officially hand over the Rivoni School for the Blind to the community so that learners can start learning there. But it is not yet clear when that 4 months will start, because he says there are still processes that need to be undergone with the current contractor. But another thing that Mr. Maringa mentioned is that currently 168 million rand has been paid to the contractor, saying about 7% of the work is remaining, and monies that amount to 7% of the work still outstand, which will be paid if they get a new contractor to that new contractor, stating that the IDT and the contractor do not owe each other anything. Monies were paid as and when work was completed, and the department was able to verify that that work had been completed. At this point in time, community members have been saying that they went to both the department and the IDT to inquire in terms of when learners can be able to move into that multi-million rand school that they have been promised in so many years, but it is still not yet clear when that will be.